Hey little kids, I'm a killer clown today. Might say bullets are gonna spray, but I'm from Brooklyn, and that's all right. Welcome back to another video. Thank you for coming back to the channel. Really appreciate it. And hope you guys learned something this time around as well, just as you have been the last few weeks. A bit of a life update with me. Had a rave over the weekend, had a few public holidays, copped, vertigo. That wasn't very fun. Couldn't really move. Still kind of in the midst of it today, but wanted to film this yesterday. It's still going to be up in time for Thursday, like we have it primarily scheduled every week. But I wanted to get into questions as we have been, and same kind of vibe, right? Going to be going over things relating to training and physique, mindset, mental health and discipline, lifestyle and identity, and PED questions as well. So let's see what we get our hands dirty with today, and let's see what you lot can learn from me. All right, first question we're going to be getting into is, what is the difference between training for size versus training for strength? Now, as we know, we do something called bodybuilding, and bodybuilding is training for size. We're trying to put muscle on. Training for strength is typically just training for power, powerlifting, in other words. And we don't want to conflate these two, all right? There are facets of powerlifting that, fall into bodybuilding, and maybe a little bit vice versa, but essentially they're two completely different things. If you're training for power, you're not going to be training to failure like you do for bodybuilding, right? So you want to take that into consideration. Number one, we're always training to failure. We're trying to break down the muscle, if you will, and build upon it each and every week. Number two, when we're training for strength, we're not really worrying too much about actually trying to recruit the muscles that we're trying to grow. All right, so powerlifting uses a lot of leverages, right? So there's a high chest, high arch in the bench press, and we're trying to reduce the range of motion between here to here. That way we can lift as much as possible within that given range of motion, right? Training for size, we are trying to contract the muscle. We're trying to take it through its full range of motion so that we can actually grow it. We don't want to be leaving out parts of the range of motion, whether that's in the stretch position or whether that's in the top position. So don't want to be doing half reps here. We don't want to be doing half reps here either at the top. So that's another thing we need to take into consideration. Training for size, typically we'll have more sets, I would say, than training for strength too. And your reps will typically be a little bit higher too. Anywhere between kind of the 8 to 15 rep range is where I like to work in, where I get a lot of my guys to work in. Now that is not set in stone. There of course is variability on either side of that spectrum, but the main factor that we need to take into consideration is that we are training to failure once again, and actually contracting the muscles that we're trying to use, making sure that muscle is taken to failure. All right, we're not just exhausting ourselves for no reason whatsoever. So that's the main difference. I'm sure there's some things I could probably add into that, but that's the crux of it essentially. Question number two is, what should a beginner focus on in their first year of lifting? Looking back on my first year of lifting, I had absolutely no clue what I was trying to do. I knew I had to get into the weights room, had to lift weights, but I didn't really know what I was doing. Now, when it comes to actually trying to put on muscle, one really important factor that I still think is way often overlooked even these days with all the information we have out there is our nutrition. I'm not saying you have to be 100% dialed in on nutrition without missing or skipping a beat at all, because I think for the majority of people, 99% of people, that's completely unrealistic. But it needs to be taken into consideration. We definitely need to be eating an adequate protein intake, so at least, in my opinion, 2 times your body weight in grams, okay? So if you're, let's say in kilograms, sorry, we work with kilograms over here. If we have any US followers or watchers, I apologize, you can do the conversion yourselves. But in kilograms, if I am 100 kilograms, I want to be eating at least 200 grams of protein every day. And everyone has their own kind of take on that, varies once again a little bit on either side, but set in stone, I just pretty much stick to that. For people with using PEDs, I will increase that to 2.5 to 3 grams per kilogram of body weight, right? But obviously in your first year of lifting, you're likely not using PEDs, and if you are, you're probably stupid, so don't do that. The other things I would focus on would be obviously controlling, understanding how to use the weight. So using the muscle that you're trying to work to actually move the weight instead of moving the weight for no reason at all. We're bodybuilders, we're trying to put on muscle. Going back to the last point that I made is we're training for size. So we want to be contracting that muscle and taking that muscle to failure. So understanding how to contract the muscle, focusing on your form first and foremost. I would say, especially for someone in the beginner phases of their lifting journey, sticking to higher rep ranges, I think helps with that. Instead of going anywhere between like 6 to 8, I would go somewhere around 10 to 15 reps on pretty much everything, if you just want to make it real simple from here. And understand how to contract the muscle whilst doing so, and taking that muscle to failure within that rep range will assist with you actually feeling the weight instead of just moving it for no reason whatsoever. And not understanding what you're trying to do with that weight. If that makes sense, that is how I would approach your first year of lifting if you are just getting into it. Focus on form, focus on nutrition, being at least 80%, adequate protein intake, and understanding what muscle you're trying to train on what exercises and how they line up, finding exercises that feel good for you and that muscle group, and then training to failure, understanding how to do that. What's one time you wanted to quit bodybuilding and why didn't you? Very good question. I wouldn't say there's one time that I wanted to quit bodybuilding. There were multiple times I wanted to quit bodybuilding. There were multiple times I wanted to give up on pursuing my career of coaching because it was tough. And to have no one supporting you on your journey other than yourself is fucking tough to do. Trust me, been there, done that. So not having that backing from parents, from friends, they just thought it was stupid, it's just one of those phases he's going through. Because as someone with ADD, ADHD, I will always chop and change things. I'd lose interest in them once I get like decently good at it. And that's kind of, I believe, what people thought was going to happen again with this. And I think due to the change in my mindset throughout the first few years and seeing that progress that I made through my lifting journey, I have already developed those skills of delayed gratification and understanding that things that are good, things that you want, and things that are out of the ordinary for most people to have, they take time. And so I had those skills and I understood that. And so I just had to apply it. So there were many times I wanted to quit bodybuilding. I wasn't sure if I had the genetics for it. I still don't know if I have the genetics to become a top pro. I do believe I can at this point become a pro. Time will tell, but I do believe it's definitely within reach. But this is why I tell people as well, don't just give up on things. If you really truly want something, just keep fucking working towards it, man. If you believe in yourself, you will make something of it. Now, you may not be a pro bodybuilder. We do have to be realistic here somewhat. But if you enjoy training, if you enjoy coaching people, you can definitely make something out of that. My initial thing was I wanted to do something within this industry, within this realm, that would allow me to train how I wanted, eat how I wanted, and live the bodybuilding lifestyle while still being able to make money doing something that I loved, which is helping people improve themselves just as the way I improved myself. And seeing that physical change as well as that mental change, it was great to see it for myself, right? But it's so much more fulfilling to see it happen with others that I truly care about and that put their trust into me. So all of that, taking all of that into consideration, that's the reason why I didn't give up on all of this. But obviously it's easier to look back on in retrospect and say that, yeah, no, I just didn't give up on it, right, for these reasons. But it was a mental battle almost every week for years. Am I doing the right thing? Am I wasting my time? You just don't know until you give it a try. And I promise you, if you have only a plan A and plan B is also your plan A, you will somehow it work. You'll throw yourself in the deep end and you will make it work if you care about it enough. That's the best advice I can give relating to that question as well. What would you tell your 18-year-old self about confidence? I'm sure this can probably help someone, so I'm going to answer this one. It's going to take me down a bit of a deep rabbit hole that I might just keep talking for like a good 10 minutes here. But I think this is a good point to touch on. Well, as you guys know, I lacked confidence. I lacked self-esteem. I was depressed. I was socially anxious, general anxiety, all of these things that I was dealing with, right? And they all play into one another. So I wasn't happy with the way that I looked. I would often get overlooked by girls, by women at that time. And a lot of girls thought I was gay. So you can imagine what that does to a man's confidence. That shit used to crush me, I'll be honest. So, you know, I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder when I entered into this journey. In a sense, trying to throw it back in their face. You know, I thought maybe in 5-10 years from then, I'd look back and be like, you know, fuck you. You know, this is what you missed out on, in a sense. And it's true. I do look back on it a little bit. But, you know, do I miss those people? No, absolutely not, obviously. But it was definitely that kind of lit a fire under my ass in order to continue pursuing, you know, this whole journey and everything. That was kind of an underlying factor as to what kept me progressing forward and not looking back. I didn't want to be a failure, and I always wanted to kind of, you know, be that, yeah, look at what you missed out on. Unlucky for you. But anyway, I'm veering off topic. When it came to all of that, I had no confidence. Like, it was down in the dumps, you know. I'm sure you guys have heard my story, watched my other videos on the video service letter that I have up. And I talk about the time where I broke down crying in front of my mum. And when I was at a family holiday with family friends. So it was me and two other girls that I had grown up with, so I knew them. I just couldn't speak. Is the best way to put it. And I just kind of choked up. I just could not say a word, and I'm thinking, repeating in my head, like, why the f*** aren't you saying anything? Why the f*** can't you say something? Just say something. Just, what's wrong with you? That's what was going on in my head. And I walked away from the group. I hadn't really, you know, added much into that conversation that whole time we were there. We were there for a few days. So kind of awkward looking back on it now. Like, I don't know what I was doing that whole time while I was there, but I walked over to my mum and I just broke down crying, and I was like, Mum, I need help. And that's kind of what sparked me into this whole journey, right? That was the main, like, switch. You know, there was things that happened prior that kind of built up to that point, but that was the switching point for me. When I look back, what would I tell myself then? Did all of this muscle help me gain confidence? Yes. Did I gain confidence only because I built all of this muscle? No. Where did I gain most of my confidence, and how did it come about? I would say by believing in myself. So whether that confidence that you guys build stems from your physique journey, stems from you pursuing goals, stems from you believing in yourself in these journeys and pursuing these goals, or whatever it may be, I think believing in yourself and backing yourself is where I was lacking that confidence in, especially. Not just my looks, which I was lacking confidence in, and that obviously played a big part in it. But if I could look back at myself and tell my 18-year-old self, because I still didn't have much confidence from about 18 to like at least 25, 24, that's when things started to really change. And it was because I started pursuing my actual coaching career properly, and I went into it head first and started doing things that people said, you know, nah, man, it's just a side job. Don't worry about it. Oh, it's just this. Don't worry about it. You know, do it for fun, but don't do it as a full-time gig, because you can't make money out of it, which is complete shit. And I believe that anything that you enjoy in life, you can make money out of, if you're good enough at it and you really care enough for it. You'll find a way to kind of start making money from it, right? And if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, as they say. And so I took that saying and I applied it, and I believed it, and it really helped. But I would go back, once again, sorry about all the long-winded yapping, but I would go back and tell my 18-year-old self, just believe in yourself, man. You know, you don't need this external belief from others so that you can have that confidence that you're searching and yearning for. that confidence comes from within, and it comes from believing in yourself when things get tough, believing in yourself when others don't believe in you, believing in your mission, what you're called to do from God, if there is a God, if that's what you guys believe in. But what you were put on this earth to do, just go for it. And I think that's where a lot of true confidence stems from, not just from looks, not just from the physical, size of me. Like I said, does it play a part into it? Yes. Once I lose these muscles though, when I get older, will I still have that confidence? Yes, because of what I just mentioned. It's about the stuff that I learned on the journey that has given me the confidence and the purest form of confidence, rather than just the muscles and the looks that I have now. So I hope that kind of answers that question. I hope that's helped someone that's watching this video. But time will tell. We'll wait and see, I guess, right? If that helped, leave it in the comments. Well, I'm going to wrap this one up here. Good few questions. Been talking for about 20 minutes. Probably be about a 15-minute video or so, hoping. Give you guys something to listen to whilst you're cooking, whilst you're eating. It's probably one of those things where you're eating, you're watching videos. I do that all the time. So maybe you guys use it for this too, with these videos. But I'm going to be doing another one next week. Might be different next week. The videos might be a Q&A, might be something else. Not too sure. We'll wait and see what the schedule allows for me to be able to do. If I'm able to do something like some challenge or something fun for you guys, I will do so. Otherwise, I'll get on here, spread the knowledge, spread awareness to mental health, this, that, and the other, as I always do. And we'll see. All right. And if there's any ideas that you guys have when it comes to video creation and content in the future, let me know. Questions as well are always appreciated for me to answer. So hit me up. Give me a follow on Instagram. If you guys are looking for a coach, you know where to come to. If you don't know what I do, go watch one of my other videos. Go follow me on Instagram to find out. Or we can get on a call and discuss things and see if we are a good fit together to work together. Okay? Speak to you guys later. Have a blessed day. Catch ya.